Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tosh Customs and today we are taking a look at one of my two custom Mezco Red Hood figures. I say one of two because I will have a second one coming very soon, hopefully in May. But for now, we have version 1 and I'm super excited to show him to you. The vision for this Red Hood is that this is very early Jason Todd years. He has just been resurrected from the Lazarus pit, and he still is sort of putting all the pieces together right now. You know, he got blown up, he died, he's back, and he's trying to get his bearings again. And in this process, he is still getting back to Gotham, and that's sort of the idea that I was playing with in this design, was that this is not a fully realized Red Hood yet. He's so much more Jason, but we're seeing those elements of the revenge, of the bitterness starting to come through. And so he doesn't have his full leather jacket suit on yet, but it's more of the idea of how did he get back to Gotham? You know, and when we watch the movie, you know, Under the Red Hood, for instance, he already has guns. He's already going after criminals in Gotham. And it's like, he had to, you know, he had to build his base a little bit. How'd he build his suit? How'd he get his helmet? You know, so there's a lot that goes into his character between when we see him die and when he returns to Gotham. And this is sort of supposed to represent that early period of Jason Todd's, I guess, career as Red Hood. So, as always, we're going to dive into accessories first. So I'm going to pop off this helmet right here, and let's dive in. You'll notice that there are no hands on our little deck here, and that's because they're all Death Adder hands. So I didn't feel like it was super necessary. Sorry, I'm going to try and adjust my camera down. There we go. I didn't feel like it was super necessary to include those for this segment because they're hands. They're pretty standard. So let's dive into what we do have here. So the first head that you guys saw at the very beginning is this 3D printed head that I designed for this early Red Hood. I wanted it to feel original, obviously, and I don't like just like sort of the flat red mask. So I added some nice little tech lines here. And the idea that I was playing with is that this whole helmet can actually be taken apart. So maybe there's like a cloth foam in there, and then all these helmet pieces can be segmented and connected together. And so as you can see, I have a lot of these little sort of locking joints here. I have a bunch of little locking pieces that all connect back to like this main section. So I printed the head in black resin, and then I painted it in black again, and then after that dry brush faded with red, and I did this with a model color matte red, and then after that went over it with Angelus red to get that semi-gloss look. Very nice clean polish semi-gloss. Helped fade it out with a little bit more black and cleaned up some of the lines right here around this edge. And then after that, hit everything with a little bit of a gunmetal dry brush. So a lot of sculpted in details right there. I think the finish turned out really nice. And then a bright chrome silver in the eyes. And I really like all the black lining that I was able to add in. There's a lot of little segments, a lot of sculpted in detail there. And so it feels futuristic and it feels advanced, but it doesn't feel too out of question for what someone could wear. And an important thing that I was taking into account for this was a lot of times you scale heads to the body, but I also scaled the helmet head to the actual unmasked head. So as you can see, it's slightly wider than the unmasked head, and it's slightly taller than like the top of his forehead. So if he tucked all his nice poofy teen rocker hair away, this head could actually, you know, realistically, air quotes, realistically fit inside the helmet. So that was an important little detail that I wanted to make sure I added while scaling this helmet, so that these two heads weren't like exactly the same size. So now moving on to the unmasked head here, the base of this is a red arrow sculpt, and then after that, what I've done is I actually cut off the top of his red arrow or arsenal hair, and then I took Gambit's hair and I put it on top, and this is from a Mezco Gambit. And then after that, I actually hand sculpted in the edge, because without it, it would actually, the Gambit hair is just a little too small, and so it's just slightly undersized. And so I did sculpt in the sides of the hair all the way around to get a nice combed fit and fade in there. And I think it turned out quite nice. We have that signature white strand of hair, and I went for this longer hair design, one, because he's just been resurrected. He's, you know, I assume he's not able to take care of himself. He's not able to get a nice haircut. So maybe he lets it grow out a little bit. And besides, this is supposed to be a young Jason Todd. He's always been the rebellious, a little bit angry, hot-headed Robin. And so I felt like almost a punk rock, you know, teen look would really work for him. And I think it does. I really like how dynamic the hair is, and I feel like it adds a little bit of extra rebellion to his character. Another thing I wanted to make sure I had was the scars. And, you know, in a lot of Red Hood material, we really don't see him with face scars, but I was really inspired by Batman Arkham Knight, and how when he took off his mask, he had a bunch of scars. He had that Joker, like, burn on his face. And so with that, I repainted the entire head. And also, can we take a minute to appreciate the fade in that 5 o'clock shadow, the pink in the cheeks? I'm getting a lot better at painting skin. I think this might be one of the best head sculpts I've painted yet. But getting in a little bit closer here, you can see he's got a bunch of pinkish red scars coming up to his forehead, going down across the cheek, cutting across the lip. He's got another one on this side. And what I did was I actually followed, you can see that I follow some of the scars, and they cross over onto his little eye mask there, and you can see some little gunmetal cracks along his face mask. And the reason I did that was because if Joker is bashing him in with the crowbar, and we do see it, his mask sort of cracks. So I was a little bit inspired by Kylo Ren when Kylo Ren put his mask together and he had all the like burn lines and stuff as it was soldered back. I thought it would be cool if Red Hood almost took his mask and, you know, sort of reconstructed it. And so you have a little bit of those cracks there that follow the scars across his face. So really happy with this head sculpt. I could gush over this, honestly. I'm incredibly proud of it. But enough's enough. Let's put it to the side. Let's talk about accessories that he has. So as it's a Red Hood, you can tell he comes with a plethora of guns, as you can see right there. And he also has a plethora of knives. He is fully kitted out. So first and foremost, let's get the blast effects out of the way. We have two Mezco blast effects here. You can see nice smoky finish on them and the little bullet tips on the end. I didn't paint these. I didn't do anything. These are just standard. They come with Mezco figures. The next thing we have is his SMG. Maybe it's an AR. I think it's more of an SMG though. This comes from the classified series Snake Eyes, and I think it was the Timberwolf Snake Eyes, if I remember correctly. I repainted it black. It was already black, but it was a little plasticky, so I gave it another go over with black, and then after that, I dry brushed it with a little bit of matte gray, and then after that, I hit it with some gunmetal dry brushing, and I think that turned out really well. You get some nice weathering on it, and there's a ton of sculpted details in this gun, and it looks great. So there you go. The magazine is removable. Unfortunately, Hasbro did not sculpt bullet detail on either side, and I assume that's because they don't want to actually encourage the use of firearms, and so there is no bullet detail. Instead, it is just some sort of cartridge, but it's all good. It's nice that it does have a removable mag, so there you go with that. Putting that off to the side, he has two little throwing knives, or combat knives maybe. These are from the Mezco Diabolic figure, and these attach into his little backpack or parachute a little bit later on. Gunmetal on the blades, and these are also unmodded. I left them as is. They look perfectly fine. Now, coming to the much cooler part of his accessories. First, we have his two snake karambits that came with Death Adder. And you might be going, why in the world does he have these? One, I was a little bit inspired by Gotham Knights, as much of a failure as it is. I like that Red Hood took a little bit of like Lazarus Pit energy power with him, and I think it's dumb that they gave him like a teleport or whatever he has. or he gets a double jump or something. It's stupid. But I like the idea that he has taken something from League of Assassins. I think it's League of Shadows. He's taken something from the League of Shadows, and with that he has these green jade blades. The Lazarus Pit always has this neon green or jade green energy emanating from it, and so I thought it would be cool if his blades have been imbued with that same energy. So I took some emerald green metallic paint, washed it into the crevices, and then wiped the top surface off, and they look incredible. So who knows what magical properties they have. I don't think they're going to make him teleport, but maybe they're extra effective against mystics. Who knows? Coming to his set of semi-standard pistols, I took these are Mezco Deadpool pistols. I mean, they're Glocks. I painted the magazine well in there, so it's in black, so it's just the slide that is pulled out in a chrome silver. I also have taken out the standard mag and actually fitted SMG mags into the pistol. And the reason why is Red Hood is famously known for his pistols, and so it made sense that he would mod it. And so it's nice for him to have a little extendo clip on the pistol right there. So he's got two of them. They're both painted the same way. And these are not forced in. You actually can remove them, bullet detail, and they do just slide back into the pistol right there. So very, very cool, very, very simple. And the Mezco blast effects do plug in to the pistols. So there we go. And last but not least, once again, I said Red Hood is sort of feeling his way out in the world. He's figuring out who he is. And so with that, I have these two custom prototype Maxim pistols. I actually wanted to do this in gray resin also and sort of have it like a prototype helmet, but ultimately he's Red Hood. He's got to have a red mask, so I opted out from keeping it gray. But these pistols, on the other hand, Red Hood has a lot of custom gear, just like Batman does. And so I thought it would be cool that Red Hood has taken, you know, some of his knowledge from working with Batman into prefabbing his own tech. And so these are sort of like the rough, you know, whether they be 3D printed or gunsmithed custom Maxims. They have his Red Hood logo pulled out in red, and then there is a nice gray wash over them. I got these from Omega Doom, and he sent these to me just as like an extra little special gift when I bought some different head sculpts from him, probably like a year and a half ago now. So I've had these sitting in a just drawer for the longest time, and I was like, this would be perfect. I don't want to have to paint these gray pistols up 100% and seal them, but instead it would be cool if these are the early templates for Red Hood pistols going forward. So that's where they are. And these actually do have storage on the figure, and I'll show those to you in a second. So now let's pull out Red Hood again. I'm going to put his helmeted sculpt on for the first half of this review, and then we'll swap it out for his more rockstar head a little bit later. So let me adjust the camera back up, and let's refocus. All right, so here we have Red Hood himself. Let's talk about the fists real quick. The Death Adder hands come in all black plastic, and I said how I was a little bit lazy, so I dry brushed some gunmetal over those segmented armor sections just to pick out some of the detail there. Nothing crazy to write home about, but it's a nice little thing to have. Since we're on the left arm, I also did include him a little watch. He's got to keep track of the time. How else do you keep track of the time when you're out vigilanteing, being a really cool young anti-hero? You got to check what time it is at night. So let's dive into the suit. So the base is Death Adder. The soft goods in terms of the shirt and the pants have not been modded. And then we get to everything else that has been modded. So one cool thing that Mezco did was they added soft goods straps to a lot of their accessories with Death Adder, including armbands and a fabric belt. So the fabric belt that Death Adder had was made out of a faux leather material, and I actually took that and I made that the bandolier across the chest. And the reason why is because it was a lot thinner, and I liked the difference of texture between the faux leather and the fabric and the rubberized printing on the shirt. And so it adds a nice little bit of sheen there where you can see it, and so it helps sort of break up the otherwise relatively matte black portions of the suit. So we have that as a bandolier, and because all the pouches for Death Adder are removable, they just have clips on the back. I actually slotted some pouches up onto the bandolier there, and as you can see, all of the pouches, both on the bandolier and on the belt, if they have like fabric lining, that lining has been picked out in a nice punchy red. So that's what we have right there. Really quick, where are my tweezers? Let me unclip, sorry for the camera shake, let me unclip this bandolier really quick, and we can look at the red hood symbol painted underneath. Once again, this is a new young red hood, so I wanted to make it look like he just sort of sprayed it onto his suit. You got some nice paint drip off the top there, and if you wanted to, you could take the bandolier off and display him without it, but for the time being and for the sake of this review, I'm going to leave the bandolier on. So we're just going to clip it back into place. If I can line it all up, it's a little bit hard trying to do it from behind a camera, but I know we can. You can do anything with a little bit of belief, a little bit of faith. There we go, it's in. I told you. All right, so let's dive into the rest of the suit now. So these shoulder pads, they come from, oh shoot, I want to say it's 1/12 Customs, or it's one of the, there's so many 1/12 Custom guys out there that all have the same name. Bro, I'm sorry I forgot your name, dude. But I bought these off his eBay store. He also does have a website. I bought them off of eBay because there's a lot of other stuff in my cart at the time, so I just did a round out purchase on eBay. But he sells multiple different sizes of all his armor bits. So an important thing to know is what body or what scale you need to buy your armor in, so you're not taking a blind guess. So in his case, he rarely scales things to like Mezco body sizes. Instead, he actually scales things to a lot of third-party bodies because they're a lot easier to get your hands on. So in our case, the Death Adder body is also the same as the Mezco blade body. They use the same internals, and part of being able to customize is being able to sort of eyeball proportions from pictures. And I know that sounds insane, because how do you do that? It's mostly experience, and it's mostly knowing how other scale figures relate to each other. That's why we have size comparisons, right? I can stand this guy up next to a Marvel Legend, up next to an SH Figure Arts, or even up to other Mezcos, and so you get an idea of, okay, if this guy's this size, Red Hood then would be this size, XYZ. So with that, this blade body is very, very close, very, very closely sized to the NW Toys body. And so these shoulder pads are scaled for NW Toys, and they fit perfectly on his shoulders. I didn't need a sand, I didn't need a mod. They are a perfect fit. So I took the armband pieces from Death Adder, and I glued the shoulder pads to them so that they have a nice flex right up there, and they move and push up when you move the arms. It's perfect. So we've talked about the bandolier, we've talked about the shoulders. The next thing we have is his backpack. This backpack comes from Diabolic. It is on a little clip that you can open with enough force here. And this is actually where I like to store the prototype pistols. They take a little bit of finesse, but you can fit them in. I usually put one, I think I just usually stack them just sort of like that. And then the backpack should be able to close over it. It's very finicky, but it is totally doable. Hold on. Let me get this right. I believe it's just like that. I really want to do this on camera to show you it's possible, because I've done it several times off camera. And once again, now that it's behind a camera lens, I'm struggling and I look like a dummy. But it's totally doable, if I can just remember how. All right, you know what? I will not waste my time on this now. You're going to have to take my word for it, because it closes over one perfectly fine. As you can see, I could click that in. And so this other one should just sort of like sit in reverse. And it should also be able to click in. I just can't do it right now. I'm sorry. I'm wasting your guys' time. ignore it. It's totally doable. You're going to have to finick around with it a little bit. And then I took Diabolic's sheaths from his arms and I glued them to the straps on the backpack. And I also did paint that part of the black backpack red. So he can take his knives and slot the knives in just like so. So you can have both right up there. Coming down to the belt now, if we used the Death Adder belt up here on the bandolier, what in the world is this belt? That's also fabric. This actually comes from, I think it was a Gomez or a Black Skull that came with like a satchel bag. And so this actually comes from the like over the shoulder satchel bag. And I really like it because it actually has this thick layer of padding in the back there. And so it feels a little bit more like a classic military style tactical belt. And so that's what I chose to use there. I had to tighten it a lot because normally it's a bag. So I had to tighten up the belt a lot, which was just sort of pulling the adjustable strap on the clip there. And then we have a bunch of, once again, just the clip pouches that just slide over the belt. So we have a lot of those, once again, picked out with the punchy red. One cool thing I added, though, is this big pouch. This comes from Mezco Catwoman, and Mezco Catwoman has a nice little lock-picking set on her belt. And I thought it'd be cool, you know, Batman always has this like Mary Poppins utility style, pouches. He just has everything in there and it makes no sense. So I thought it'd be cool, okay, what if he actually has designated tools that he can use? So we have a lock-picking set and a small tool set as well. So everything he would need to probably get himself out of a bind, whether that's picking handcuffs, picking locks, cutting wires, knocking the heads of a very small person, maybe, who knows. But he has everything there, and it folds up quite nicely, and I think that's a fun little addition for the character. Before we move down all the way, I did want to point out what else I painted up here on the torso. So these shoulder pads were printed in gray, and so I painted them black, dry brushed with the black gray, dry brushed over the black gray with a little bit of gunmetal, and then picked out all the bolts in gunmetal as well. So you get a nice amount of dirt and weathering there. We also have a little bit of red right in those squares. And then coming down the arm, the little line to the elbow, to the little elbow rubberized pad is also picked out in red. So he has a little bit more red detailing going throughout the body. Coming to the chest now, besides the Red Hood logo, the rubberized pieces up on the front of the chest have been dry brushed with some, I believe this was dry brushed with some gunmetal. As you can see, there's a lot more of a metallic sheen on the chest there. And then all these little circle clips, and there's a couple more that are hidden behind the backpack straps, I think. No, maybe not. I thought there was more. I think there's some more under here somewhere. But anyways, these little ringlets have been picked out in a chrome silver. So he's got some nice metallic sheen up on the body. So you got some metallic sheen on the shoulders, some more metal on the chest piece. So, or chest and ab plates. So now moving down to the pistol holsters, these are Mezco Deadpool holsters pulled off of the Mezco Deadpool figure. So I've painted these all in black, and I've cleaned up the straps a little bit too, just making all the paint nice and clean. We have a mix of semi-gloss black with some black gray and then some chrome silver on the clips there, and then the pistols fit in there. So let me grab those real quick. So you can just take the pistols and slot them in. Got to get it around the little loop there. Cool. So I'll put the other one in too. And I really, really love those extended SMG mags. I think they're so fun. So we have this here, and we're just going to push that loop up there, get that plastic loop out of the way, and then slide the holster in, or slide the pistol into the holster. Bada bing, bada boom. He's got his pistols on too. All right, so coming down, I didn't want to add knee pads to the pants. As you can tell, the entire figure is a little bit of a lighter configuration of Red Hood. I don't want him to be weighed down by too much, and so with that, I decided to go no knee pads for the pants. These pants already feel like they're made out of a thicker fabric, so one, I didn't want to limit articulation any more than the fabric already did, and two, if these are a heavier material pants, they should be good enough to take some wear and tear. They're not gonna, they're not gonna start falling apart and ripping if he gets into a little bit of a scuffle. So that alone was enough justification for me to leave it alone. All right, coming down to the boots now. A lot of this stuff was already picked out in some gunmetal silver. But I did paint that little tab up there, and I'll explain why later. For now, it just helps break up the black. And then coming down to the laces, I did all the lacing once again in that very punchy red. And so he's got red all over the body. And I feel like it's a pretty good dispersal of red across. He's got it on the head, obviously backpack, down to the shoulders, down to the belt, down to the boots. And so nothing goes too far without seeing some red, and he very clearly has his whole color motif going for him. So really, really proud of that. So popping off this head, let's swap on the Rockstar head now. There we go, check that out. So for some size comparisons, as always, very, very important stuff out here. We have the Mezco Clown Prince of Crime Joker right here. He stands almost the same height, just a tad bit shorter than Red Hood. And then we also have a Mezco Batman right here, who also actually stands shorter than the Blade body. You know, size-wise, I'm not sure if this is to scale or not. I know Batman's legs are a little bit wide, but even with the ears, Red Hood's hair makes him quite tall. But hey, he gets a nice, very lanky look across, so that's not too shabby altogether. And now what we have to do is, if we're calling this the young Red Hood, what does an older Red Hood look like? So here we have my ultimate Red Hood that I made maybe a year and a half ago now, maybe 2 years actually. Who knows? I'd have to go back and look at the post. But here we go. We have the ultimate Red Hood. So let me scoot this guy to the side here. And now both of these guys were made off a Blade body. And this is what I wanted to talk about evolution of the figure. I was heavily referencing this guy when I was making this guy. And so as you can see, they both have the Red Hood symbol. They both have metallic on the chest, while this one is a much harder armor. Once again, shoulder pads, but you know, now picked out in a brighter silver. We have the helmets, and even when I was 3D sculpting this helmet, I was sort of referencing this design. This is the like Death Star Soy design from his art, where it almost has like this Omega symbol on the helmet. And so with that, I do sort of have those lines coming down to the eyes, or a little bit so, and then looping up to the back of the head. And so I wanted to pay like some homage to the design elements there, even sort of like more the triangle in the cheeks, stuff like that. So once again, talking about evolution of the character. Once again, we have the little red highlights on the belts, and let me adjust my camera focus here real quick. We have little red highlights on the belts. Red Hood continues to have throwing knives, and he has throwing knives up on the backpack there. And then coming down, maybe he's learned his lesson. He's gone for thinner fabric pants, but he's gone with knee pads. We still have the dual pistol holsters, but now we have the fully realized Maxims. They're a little bit larger. They're a little bit heftier. Maybe they shoot a bigger round, who knows? But you can definitely see the influence there. And then finally coming down to the boots, where we have a silver tab right here. We now have a red tab on the boots, and he's gone for a much more deeper, darker, grungier look with the metallic metal versus, you know, the little bit more cleaner, stylized shin cover. And he's gotten a little bit older. He's moved away from the bright laces. So I think those two together look like a very interesting complement pair. The younger and the older Red Hood, or maybe alternate universe Red Hoods, who knows? But I thought that was a fun little comparison to have and to bring out for you guys. So with all that said and done, I do believe that brings me to the end of this video. Let me double check. Have I talked about everything? Yeah, I believe I've talked about everything I want to talk about. So thank you all for watching this video. I really appreciate all your guys' support, and I do want to use this time right now to give you a couple updates. So last week on my Instagram, I put up a poll about starting to make a resource for other customizers and just people in the community to talk about, how do we deconstruct figures? There's a lot of new figure lines out there, like Mezco 1/12, like this 1/12 scale that they do with all the soft goods. It was not around when I first started making customs 7 years ago. I think I was maybe a year, maybe 2 years into customizing when the Mezco line first started coming out. So I'm an old dog in the game, but that also goes to show, how much has changed. We have Mezco, we have McFarlane. Before it was Marvel Legends and very basic Marvel Legends at the time. So a lot has changed. There's been a huge jump, and I've noticed that there really aren't community resources out there to help new people get into customizing. As much as a lot of the older people in the community have done sort of like this trial and error type way of learning, there's a lot of people out there, who would appreciate the resources, who would actually appreciate a source that they could go to help them, expand their knowledge. And so I'm hoping to work on creating some of that resource for you guys. So in the month of May, so starting next week, I'm going to start filming videos and uploading videos about, I'm going to start with the engineering of Marvel Legends, because Marvel Legends has the widest diversity of bodies and of engineering of the three major toy lines. So I will be doing Marvel Legends, Mezco, and McFarlane. I have had some requests to dive into SH Figure Arts and a couple like import lines. Customizing import lines isn't nearly as large in the community, so I'll think about it. I do have thoughts on both because I have customized Yamaguchi, I've customized SH Figure Arts, so I understand their internal engineering, but I'm not sure how much return for the time, if it'll be worth it for people. But I will be covering Marvel Legends first, so I don't know. I'm hoping maybe like second week of May, I'll start rolling those videos out. And so we're going to be talking about the engineering of all the Marvel Legends bodies. We're talking about prepping all of the Marvel Legends bodies. We're going to talk about kit bashing, how to scale, how to properly scale accessories. If I have a hand that I want to use, but its hand peg is too big, how do I do fitting? All that kind of stuff. Anything that you can want to know about Marvel Legends, I believe I have an outline that covers it all. So I'm hoping to start that in May. And I appreciate all your guys' support and feedback on the idea. I want to say about like 15 or 20 screenshot responses giving unique ideas to add into the videos. And so I'm taking all of those into account. So we'll be talking about Marvel Legends first, then we'll be going to Mezcos. Mezcos, if I want to switch out soft goods, if I want to switch out arms on a Mezco, because that is a thing that we do, if I want to switch out neck pegs, if I want to fit new ball pegs into the neck, because that is what I did here. You can see that Death Adder 1 had a very thick black snake neck. So I replaced the neck. I replaced the ball joint. I had to size it to a new head and all that kind of stuff. So with that, a lot of stuff to learn, a lot of stuff to go over. So we will be talking about the engineering of Mezcos, how to switch and swap all that kind of stuff out. And then finally, we'll be going to McFarlane's. Once again, McFarlane engineering, how to sand McFarlane's down, how to kit bash, all those types of things. So this is going to be a very long project, probably like a month and a half of videos, as I'll upload a video or two a week. So yeah, we'll see how it all pans out. But I'm hoping to create hopefully 10 to 15 minute segmented videos where we talk about individual things so that they're very easily digestible, very easily accessible, and I'll put all those into a YouTube playlist for you guys. So with all that out of the way, thank you all for watching. Once again, I appreciate all your support. The channel has been growing a lot as of late. I've been trying to put a little bit more care and attention to it. And so welcome to all the new subscribers as always. This figure will be for sale. When I post it on Instagram, I will post a price. I'm thinking, for all the work done, I'm thinking 400-ish, but we'll see what I end up landing on. I know that seems high, but I think the quality of figure you're getting out is really, really good. But enough rambling. Go check out my Instagram, Tosh_customs. I'm a lot more active there. And until next time, I appreciate you all, and I'll catch you later. Take care.